If we can start with you, Gary, in terms of if you can paint a picture for us of the time. Obviously United are well used to playing in FA Cup finals. Their fans well used to heading to Wembley. They'd already played in a League Cup final that season, and they had played 3 Cup finals in a row, or alone in the 70s. Brighton had never played a major cup final before in their history. So what was it like at the time? Like, you'd barely turned 20. What was it like being part of it, being part of a Brighton club that was slowly making its way through the FA Cup run, while at the same time drowning ultimately when it came to the league?
Yeah, it was like, to try and paint a picture of it, it was incredible. Like, it was, we were using up a lot of luck in the cup, obviously, you know, we had a fantastic run with the teams that we were playing. Even like, there were top quality sides in them side.
Beat Liverpool on the way to the final
like
as well.
First of all, Newcastle. Like, when I think of the Newcastle side, it was Waddle starting out and Keegan. Mick Martin actually played in that game, you know. So it was a draw, and the goals down went up and beat Newcastle 1-0. And then moved on to Manchester City at home, 4-0. And then, of course, the famous win in Liverpool. They beat Liverpool 2-1 with Jimmy Case getting the winner, cracker. And I just obviously looked it up there lately, and to see Jimmy celebrate, like, none of this, no celebrating. Jimmy went mad, like, when he scored that winner against Liverpool, his whole team. But it was a fantastic time at Brighton, and everyone was just on board. For me to break into the team in March time, it was incredible. You know, I'd missed them first few games. My first experience of the FA Cup was the game against Sheffield Wednesday in Highbury in the semi-final. So that was an incredible day, because it was having the experience of actually winning such a top-level match and realising then you were getting to Wembley. So
that was the drawn game was your 11th appearance for Brighton. Yeah. So you clearly broke into the team late on in the season. What were the circumstances around you actually finding yourself in the side for the semis? How did that come about?
You know, like, normal know this about breaks and things like that. Really, I used up a lot of luck at that time, like, because Jerry Ryan had picked up a bit of an injury and leading into them months, and he was struggling a little bit. But the big one really was a big surprise for us. Andy Ritchie left, and Andy was main striker at the time, and he went to Leeds, and Terry Connor came in, but Terry was cup tied. So that was another one out of the way for me to get into the team, you know. So it was really, I'd say it was a toss-up between me, Jerry Ryan, Kieran O'Regan for that spot at that time, you know. So I did use it. I was in good shape. I was ready for it, like, you know. But you need a lot of luck to break in in them days.
We'll talk about how you felt on the day itself. Norman, by contrast, and in contrast to Brighton, Manchester United were having a brilliant season. They'd already got to the League Cup final, beaten by that phenomenal Liverpool team that was under Bob Paisley in his final year as manager. You had finished third in the league, again behind a brilliant Liverpool team, and so United were going very well in what was Ron Atkinson's second season in charge. It was all seemingly starting to click under Ron.
At that time, Dave, everyone just thought it was Manchester United as a cup team, because we hadn't won the league in so many years, and Liverpool were running away with it, actually, you know, throughout the 80s. But even, like you said, in the cup games, we got to we beat Arsenal in the semi-final at Villa Park, where I managed to score the winner, and that obviously took us there to the Brighton final. And the big story that the Brighton one was with Jimmy Mealy and coming in by helicopter, and all these, you know, he was going to be a fortune teller, and all these little stories were coming out. And Stevie Foster, he was one of their main men. He didn't play. So there was a couple of little stories that there was in the Brighton camp. But we had a good run, a good cup run. Like you say, we got to the League Cup, the Milk Cup as it was then, and Liverpool beat us there 2-1. But then we were favourites, actually, when we got to Wembley for the Brighton game. But if you go on to the game, we were lucky in the end.
Yeah, we'll get into the actual game itself. Is that the same Stevie Foster who used to wear the white headband and
that's
to win a League Cup title with Luton 5 years later?
Yeah. I'll tell you a good story about that. Norman, he got actually booked against Notts County, and he knew that booking was going to rule him out of the cup final. And how he didn't get sent off that day, he virtually loafed the referee, and he was doing everything to get the sending off, because then he would have been okay.
Sorry, if he'd been sent off, he would have been eligible.
He would have been eligible for some.
How?
I'm not going into.
He knew that. He knew
that at the time, like, you know what I mean. So the booking was definitely.
How do you fail to get yourself sent off?
I don't know, but he tried everything. I think the referee took a dislike to him, and he knew what was going on as well. But yeah, that's a good one.
That's hilarious. We talked about Gary just turning 20 and, you know, how green around the gills he must have been around the time, Norman. And we just assumed that because you had played a World Cup the previous year that you're practically a veteran at this stage. But you're still in your teens. What are you, 18?
Yeah, no, sorry, for that one I was 18.
Yeah.
Because I 18, well, I'll know this because 18 and 19 days and I still have the record for the youngest goal scorer. So that I don't know if that'll be beaten this weekend, but so I've held that for all those years. But yeah, I was lucky actually with my first season, and Big Ron was one of those managers. He didn't really change his team around that much, and you know, I got into the team at 16 and then 17, and I played 50 odd games that year, 57 games or something in my first season, and like you said, managed to get the 2 finals. So, you know, by the end of it, you know, I was like a season pro the second season or the third season because I played so many games. And
so many big games. And this is a big game Manchester United team. Like it's full of experience right throughout. And even, as we say, the teenagers in the team like yourself have already played huge games like taking on the hosts at a World Cup the previous year. So I wonder, Norman, heading into it, you're up against a team that are clearly going down, that have had their struggles on and off the field. Is there any element of complacency going into it? Because you fully would have expected to be facing a Liverpool, for example, when you get to a Wembley final. But having got Arsenal and Everton out of the way in the quarters and the semis, as you said earlier, you're heavy favourites going into the match. And were you taking Brighton for granted in the manner in which you guys performed in the first game?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think we did actually. I just think it was a poor performance, and that can happen. I mean, I've looked over so many World Cup, FA Cup final games, and John Matty's done that many. He's done 29 or something, hasn't he? And every year he said it's not the best game of football. It's not the best game of football because sometimes they become an anticlimax, don't they? And you know, I've heard that commentary that many times, but no, we just went into it hoping we were going to play well. But it never turned out that way. And Brighton gave us a really good run for our money.
So where does the confidence come from, Gary, to play as well as you did in the first game? Is it because of the success that you've had in this cup run that you're thinking, well, at this stage we've already beaten Liverpool, it doesn't really matter who we're playing?
I'm not surprised Norman answered it that way because we did have some top quality players, and then on the day the 2 central midfield players, Jimmy Case and Tony Grealish, were magnificent. Jimmy obviously was a fantastic player, but they really dominated in there. You know, they were winning little scraps and battles for us, you know, and they set the tone for us in there. And we had, you know, Michael Robinson up front, Gordon Smith, and you know, they were international. So we at the start of that 1983, we'd actually beat, I think, Arsenal and Manchester United in the league. So that it was there, you know, it was just, it didn't happen all throughout the season, but the players were there, and on their day they could be as good as anybody.
The 2 players you've mentioned there, I guess if you're kind of in a dressing room, particularly someone like yourself who's so young and so inexperienced, and you're seeing Grealish and Case who've done things at the highest level alongside you, and they look like they're confident, they look like they're not overawed by the occasion, it must do wonders for yourself.
Absolutely. Tony, I don't think people really recognise the skill he had as well. You know, they had this picture of him being a little terrier, but he could pass and he was excellent, you know, and he was great to have around the place. He was always full of life, and he looked after myself and Kieran were the 2 young lads in the team, and the whole gang were kind of looked after us, you know, and probably Norman, it was a different experience for him up in Manchester. He was probably one of the main men from early on, you know.
The way the game went, Norman, obviously Brighton go ahead pretty early, and it's taken the best part of 55-60 minutes for Manchester United to kind of get themselves into the game. Ultimately, Staples and the equaliser leads to Ray Wilkinson putting you boys in front, and there's only 18 minutes left. And are you thinking then finally, well, look, we've kind of got the measure of them now, that should break their spirit and we should be home and host from here on?
Well, I don't know if you do think about it like that. You just hope that, you know, you do your job to the end of the game. But then, obviously, things change. In football, things change in a second, don't they? And they came back at us. So, you know, fair play to them for that.
Here's the first of the 2 Brighton goals. This was 14 minutes into the game, and obviously blows the FA Cup final wide open. No one expecting Brighton to start as well as they have.
It's fast and furious in this opening quarter of an hour. Grealish square to Smiley. Number 8, Howlett. Chipping one in for Gordon Smith. It's there! Gordon cross. What a good ball by the 20-year-old. It found out Moran and McQueen, and Smith punished them. The underdogs have taken the lead, perhaps just what the cup final needed. 14 minutes gone.
Listening back to that, Gary, I don't know how long it is since you've heard that.
It's a while, actually. Yeah, it's strange hearing it like that. Fantastic memory, but
it must have settled you down then massively.
Well, it did.
Play such a big part in such a big moment.
Yeah, like all the talk was before the game was like, just do something simple early on, and I think I tried the simplest of passes early on, and I gave it away in the first minute or two, so then you want to do something, but for something like that to come off was great, because it's a pass that fellas do every week in matches and in training, you know what I mean? But it was just for it to happen that day in the cup final, for me it was great, And
are United all over you guys then?
They started well, and I think Graham Mosey had produced a couple of good saves already, we were under a bit of pressure, and it was probably one of the first times I think we broke into their half, so it was it settled everyone down and gave us a bit of breathing space, And
so we asked Norman for his perspective there when Wilkins puts United up in front with 18 minutes left. What was it like from your perspective to have put so much into the game, have led for so much of it, and then suddenly 2 goals in 17 minutes, and it's very easy then for you to think, well, this is really where everyone expected us to be. We've given a good run of it here. Let's just kind of take the moral victory out of it.
I know, we conceded early in the second half. I want you to ask Norman about a tackle on Chris Ramsey that led to that goal that probably cameras haven't picked up on. I think it was a good, strong challenge by yourself, Norman, on Chris. Can you remember it on the touchline?
Yeah, I think he missed the next game, didn't he?
He missed the next game, but he was actually slow getting back for the tap in for Stapleton then. But it was a typical. It was a fair tackle. It was a great tackle, But that led up to the first goal. And then the second goal, I think, took everyone by surprise. I hope you don't mind me saying that. Usually when Ray Wilkins got the ball like that in that position, I think he might have usually looked for a side pass or a threaded pass into Norman or Frank or something, but to take it out of his feet like that and curl it, I was standing right behind it, and I just said, that's it, it's gone now, But in fairness, we didn't give up and we kept going, and I actually looked at the equaliser there this morning. It was a well-worked corner that we used to work on all week there with Jimmy Melia. Can you believe that, Norman?
Yeah, Jimmy Melia, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Gary.
No, it was a corner that we never worked on.
Yeah.
It was a.
And then it fell to Thingy's feet, didn't it?
It fell. Yeah, Tony had an out slash and it fell to Gary Stevens in the 6 yard, and it was a fantastic feeling. That it was something you never forget.
And for any of our listeners, I mean, this is the Gary Stevens that went on then and probably made his name more so with Tottenham then.
That's right.
And that great team with Hoddle and Waddle and Gascoigne and.
He was a great player.
He was playing centre back before you. For those days, I'd more of associated him as being a centre midfield player, but
he made his name centre back. He was excellent that day, and that got him a move.
So he gets the equaliser with 3 minutes left, Norman, and suddenly all thoughts of lifting your first FA Cup and walking up the steps at Wembley have to turn to extra time. So is it difficult getting your mindset changed so quickly, heading into extra time, and what way did extra time play out? Were both teams having a go, or were you happy enough to settle for a replay?
I can't remember. I was knackered.
Yeah. Everyone was knackered. There wasn't much football played. Everyone was out on their feet, yeah.
Because it was a really heavy surface, Wembley, at the time, wasn't it? On a hot day in May.
That's right.
I would imagine by the time
that's why the first goal, when he headed it, when you crossed it in and he headed it, it sort of hit the ground and stayed low, didn't it?
That's right. Which was boggy, yeah.
It was a bit wet, the surface, wasn't it?
So was extra time pretty uneventful, Norman?
Yeah, I don't remember much about extra time. The only thing I do remember, of course, is the opportunity that I don't even know if that was an extra time or full time. The miss at the end.
Yeah. That was the only. I think that was the only piece of football in it. Like, it was the ball knocked up to Michael Robinson, and I think he shrugged off one of the centre halves.
Kevin Moore, and he pushed him off the side.
Yeah.
Turned inside with Gordon McQueen. Just led it to him, and I think it was a bad miss rather than a good save.
Oh yeah, definitely was. Yeah, and Gordon Smith, like, it was his first touch. I think that just let him down a little bit, and he had the best touch in the club. Like, typical Scottish player, great touch, great skill, but he just let it go, and then Bailey smothered it, and that was it then.
And so on the back of that miss, having led for so much of the 90 minutes, the old adage that you will only get one opportunity to take down the big dog, and if it goes to a replay, it's something we hear in Gaelic football and hurling so often, that you've kind of left it behind you then. ultimately that's how it proved, because you shipped a bit of a beating in the replay. So was that the feeling walking off the field? Do you know what, lads, that was our chance and it's gone now? Particularly having missed such an opener in extra time to really put them away.
Believe it or not, we got in the dressing room and we didn't really dwell on the miss. Like, we were just so pleased to be probably going back to Wembley on the Thursday. It was such a late goal. We equalised within the 90 minutes, and so there was no. We were just looking forward to the next game, and we were on good appearance money for the replay, so everyone was delighted. We weren't on great wages, so there was a bonus and an appearance money. So happy days. So, but
what was Ron's reaction to that?
I was only on about 300 quid a week.
300. I was on more than that.
Honest to God.
It's crazy.
We're comparing salaries now. It's God, when you think of it, it's just such a different time. 300 quid, like. Norman, what was Ron Atkinson's reaction like after the game? Was it a relief that you got out of it? Was he angry that you had underperformed a little?
No, I don't think you can be angry, because you've been given another chance, haven't you? So you've got to just regroup, get together, and he just focused on the next game. And we had a day off or so, and then we got back in, and then he just said, right, come on, show me what you can do this time. And obviously it was a lot easier to replay. We were 3-0 up at half-time. Yeah. It's always nice to go in the dressing room and, 3-0 up half-time in a cup final. So that wasn't too bad.
What was different, Gary, about that first half?
Well, we actually started better. Yeah, we started better, and then there was just I can remember the first goal. I think Brian Robson scored the first goal, and there was kind of quickly after that there was a sense of inevitability about it, and it was just as we were 3-0 down at half time, and the game was kind of over, and it was a realisation that we had our chance on the Saturday and it was gone now.
Could you sense, Norman, that they were there for the taking, and that a better start, which you did make, and the first goal after 25 minutes, that there's a feeling this Brighton team, they've had their day in the sun, they're done now?
Yeah, definitely. You probably think, come on, we can't let ourselves down again, or can Brighton raise their game again, And as it turned out, it turned out a bit of an easy game in the end, but they'd had their chance before, like you say, and should have buried us with that chance that everyone talks about.
Yeah, you're 2 up after half an hour. Norman, you've got the second goal. Let's have a listen to how that one went in.
McQueen was doing some climbing there, surely. This is Davis. Turned it in for Whiteside. 2-0 to Manchester United after 29 minutes. Norman Whiteside, the scorer. Gordon McQueen, first of all, going in for the cross. But Alan Davis, who made the first goal for Robson, kept his cool. He looked up, he chipped in the perfect ball. Whiteside's header, goalkeeper couldn't reach it, neither could Grealish. 2-0 to United. And you can throw the comics away now, because this fellow at just 18 has put the fiction writers out of business.
You're not renowned for that FA Cup final goal, Norman, obviously, because you've got this absolute screamer 2 years later against Everton that we've seen replayed thousands of times in the intervening period. So how does this one compare, even in your own mind, scoring that Wembley final goal? Does it even factor at all?
Yeah, I mean, it comes in because I was lucky I scored in 3 Wembley finals. So my first one was against Liverpool with my right foot in the Milk Cup. And then the second one was Brighton, and that was a header. And my third one was against Everton, that was my left foot. So perfect top trick of Wembley finals.
And at 2-0 up at half an hour in, Gary, it's pretty much done then, is it?
Well, it was, because you could see they were just flying at that time, and the confidence wasn't from them. It was wave after wave of attack, really. We were just kind of hoping that it wasn't going to be too bad, and I think we were probably happy to get out with 4 in that replay, really.
And so what's the Brighton dressing room like afterwards? Because you've already been relegated, so it's already a bit of a disastrous season in terms of the league. It could have been salvaged in a massive way by lifting the FA Cup the previous weekend, but was it a tough place to be then that Thursday night in the changing room afterwards, and you could hear United celebrating their FA Cup and their first trophy under Ron?
Yeah, it was. It was very sombre. I can remember even when we were leaving the dressing room, I was leaving, and Neil Smiley the winger that played, he said, "Come on, Gary, we'll go up the steps and have a look over Wembley. You know, you mightn't be here again. You know." And how true he was, like, you know. But I can remember that instant. After that, getting back, I'd say, if you knew that dressing room, I'd say we went for a few beers at the weekend and probably stayed for a couple of days, getting over it, like, you know.
And where did United go after that, Norman? We know that they came back 2 years later, beat a really classy Everton side in the FA Cup final. It was your goal and the whole Kevin Ward being sent off and everything. But it wasn't long before things started to unravel, and Ron was shown the door with Ferguson coming in November of 86. So you never ultimately reached the heights that a lot of people would have expected of you or predicted that this United team would do.
Well, it's unbelievable because that season, the 85 years, we won the first 10 games, and we weren't beaten until the 15th game or something, or whatever it was. A big run. And then you would expect, we were so far in front, and we were playing great football, and it was all hunky-dory, and then we just took our foot off the pedal, and we were losing to bottom of the league teams, and it just ran a bit pear-shaped, and we obviously didn't win the league. But we played some great stuff that season, the start of that season, after we won the cup.
Norman, before we let you go, we are talking about the FA Cup final, obviously, because it's 35 years out from this United Brighton fixture at Wembley, but we'll be looking at Wembley in a couple of hours' time with United taking on Chelsea. If United win this game, Norman, in your eyes, does it turn a pretty bang average season into a very good one, finishing second and winning a trophy?
It's always nice to do that, to win a trophy, especially people, I think, still underestimate the FA Cup. It's still one of the best cup competitions in the world. And, you know, when you were a kid, and when I was a kid in Belfast and Gary was in Dublin or whatever, it's like, you know, you dream of going to play at Wembley and doing things like that. So for me, it's still a great competition. It's always, people's always out there to win it. And, you know, it'll help the season, of course. Finishing second, long way behind City this season. Very up and down, roller coaster season. Some good football, some not so good football, and you've got to just put it together on the day. And the most important thing is winning the trophy. But when you're a supporter, certainly a Manchester United supporter, you always want to see a wee bit of glam with it, a wee bit of football.
I wouldn't imagine that if United win this game, Gary, it's going to be off the back of a classic FA Cup final that will be rolled out time and time again in years to come. A bit of glam, as Norman put it. That's just not what you tend to get from Jose Mourinho managed teams in final days. Yeah,
but the players are there, you know, in both teams. It's going to be a tight game. I'd expect a tight game, and it's just, you know, it's been well documented. There's been problems in the dressing room all year round, and it's just, if every player gives their all for Chelsea could have a right go, and and I hope it's a good game. But if Hazard gets on it, and if Pogba then the other side, you know, they could open up defences, and hopefully it might be a couple of goals.
Of course, the one thing that we won't be seeing, as we did in '83, is a replay. Those days are gone.
No, those days are gone. No repairs money needed for them lads.
No, exactly. Lads, it's been really interesting. It's been a nice stroll down memory lane so far that it's actually beyond me. I think the first FA Cup final I can remember is '85. So, Norman Whiteside, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for taking the call.
Cheers, Dave. Cheers, Gary.
All the best, Norman. Lovely talking to you.
All the best.
Gary, thanks for coming in.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Thank you.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that latest offering from Off the Ball. If you want to subscribe, and you should, check out just up here. All our latest stuff is just down here. Generally, knock yourself out.